Now I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about a toaster oven. So here's our standard toaster oven right here. Of course, we have the door and a tray we can put the food on, of course. Shove it back in, close the door. So of course, make sure when you're actually cooking to close the door, don't leave it open. Of course, it will let the heat out, and that's kind of pointless then. So of course, when you're using your toaster oven, go ahead and plug it into your standard outlet. When you're not using your toaster oven, please take it out. You hear warnings here and there about some things going wrong with some of your units. Because this one does get really hot, I just like to unplug it just as a safety precaution, just in case it wants to continue to stay hot while it's plugged in, even though it's off. Of course it shouldn't, but just in case, it's a good safety measure. So in this unit right here on my right side, I have a bunch of different settings. On the top, we have our temperature setting. This is if we're going to be baking something. Of course, remember, a toaster oven is actually just like your big oven. It's just smaller if you're going to be cooking things that are smaller for one person, maybe even two people. Instead of using all the electricity from your standard oven, go ahead and use this. It uses a lot less power. It's quicker to heat up, and of course, quicker to cool down. It won't warm up your house. So you'll set it just like you would, like I said, your standard oven, whether you're baking something or actually cooking something. Here I have 150 degrees, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, all the way up to 450 degrees. So this is where I will turn the dial to make my actual temperature settings. Now on the bottom, remember, this is a toaster oven. So toaster is another one of the keywords. If you're going to be toasting something such as bread, bagels, things that of course won't fit in your standard toaster too, this is a great thing to use. Now on the bottom you have two different settings. One is a timer setting, which if I move this, if you can hear that clicking away, it's actually the timer going off. Once it's done, it will ring. And so this is your timer. This is good so if you're going to be baking something. For instance, this morning I made myself a chicken sandwich. So I actually set the temperature to 450 degrees, and I set my timer to 15 minutes, which is what I needed to cook my chicken. So like I said, this thing does heat up really fast, so pretty much within that 15 minutes, within a minute or so, it'll actually heat up to the 450. So you don't have to wait for any time to preheat. Let's say you're going to be baking something that's going to take a long time past the 15 minutes, such as a small cake or something like that. You can actually turn the knob down to a stay on position. With this stay on position, it will leave the oven at the determined temperature that you wanted. So for instance, right now it's on 450. Of course I can lower it or raise it. This light will turn on when it's actually preheated, just like standard oven. So, but let's talk about toaster again for a little bit. On this one, it has under the timer thing, the timer setting, it has an icon of a piece of bread, whited out here and black here. What it is this would be fully crispy, and this would be pretty much not crispy at all. What this actually counts down to is about 5 minutes. So we'll say this will be like your setting on your toaster for how crispy you want your toast to be. So if we put it about halfway, this will give it a nice golden brown. If we put it all the way up, we can, of course, actually burn it. So it's another time thing. And then, like I said, once you're done, go ahead and unplug it. You want to be careful with it. Another thing, too, is if you can notice, I did pull this away. I didn't pull this away just for the camera. Whenever you're actually using this, you want to have this away from anything that can burn, or at least that doesn't need the heat by it. So if you have this next to your refrigerator, pull it away. You don't want it to scar your refrigerator. Of course, don't put anything on top of it, especially while in use, such as napkins, plates, towels, whatever it may be, because like I said, this thing does get really hot, so make sure it's in a good ventilated area. But those are the basics of your toaster oven and pretty much how to use it.